Today we're going to talk about how to factor trinomials when the leading coefficient is 1, or when there's not a coefficient out front. One thing I want you to remember, we've kind of talked about this the last couple of days, is that when we factor, we're kind of undoing multiplication. So when we're factoring trinomials, we are trying to undo the foiling or box method. So factoring is undoing multiplication. So our goal when we factor is to get our trinomial, like x squared plus 7x plus 10, back to the form where it's in two sets of parentheses. So x plus 5 times x plus 2. There are two approaches that you need to take that are similar. The one we're going to do today is more basic because there's not a coefficient out front. The one that you will do tomorrow requires a few more steps just because there's an extra coefficient. So we're going to call this the x method, and at BHS you'll hear it referred to that as the x method in every class. There are three steps really. You're going to take your original trinomial here and put your c on the top of the x and your b on the bottom. Pay attention to your signs. And then your goal is to find two numbers that multiply to give you the top number and add to give you the bottom. And once you find those two numbers that work, you're going to write them on the sides here. And then from there, you're going to go ahead and write it in your parentheses in factored form. Okay, so let's go ahead and try this. So to factor this first trinomial, we are going to write c, which is 3 here. We have a, b, c. So c is 3 on the top. B is 4. So what we're doing is we're looking for two numbers that multiply to give us 3 and add up to 4. The only two factors of 3 are 1 and 3. So 1 times 3 gives me 3. 1 plus 3 gives me 4. So our goal is to find the two numbers that multiply to give us the top and add up to give us the bottom. Once we have that, we can go right to our factored form, so those two groups of parentheses. We had a positive 1 and a positive 3 on the sides here. So this just came down, and that just came down. All you need to do is take that v squared and split it up, so we have a v in each group of parentheses, and that is your factored form. Let's go ahead and try a couple more problems. So the next problem we're going to do is very similar, just different constants and coefficients. So again, we have our a, our b, and our c. And we're going to put our c on top, so positive 12, and our b on bottom, so positive 8. And we're going to find two numbers that multiply to give us 12 that add up to 8. So I know my factors of 12 are 1 times 12, 2 times 6, and 3 times 4. So if I compare those, the only pair there that adds up to give me the 8 is 2 times 6. So when I write this out in factored form, I have r plus 2 because it was positive 2, and r plus 6 because it was a positive 6. And that is my final answer. The next one, again we have a, b, and c. So a is here, b is here, c is here. C goes on top, b goes on bottom. Notice that since this was a negative 12 or a minus 12x, I put a negative 12 in the bottom of the x. So I'm actually looking for two numbers that multiply to give me 20 and add up to negative 12. So sometimes I like to list these out. So I know I can do 1 times 20, 2 times 10, and 4 times 5. Well, of those pairs, 2 and 10 add up to give me 12. If I make those both negative, then I have negative 12. So negative 2 times negative 10 is positive 20, and negative 2 plus negative 10 is negative 12. So when I write my parentheses, I have x minus 2 times x minus 10. And that is my final answer. Let's do two more together. These are a little different because now we have a negative c. So if I label a, b, and c, My C this time is a -3, and my B is a +2. Again, the only factors of 3 are 1 and 3. So I need to figure out which one needs to be negative to give me a +2 when I add up. So -1 times 3 is -3. -1 plus 3 is 2. So I have n minus 1 and n plus 3. Last one we're going to do together. A, B, and C. B is -2, C is -48. So -48 on top, -2 on the bottom. Factors of 48 are 1 and 48, 2 and 24, 3 and 16, 4 and 12, and 6 and 8. So since this needs to be a -2, the only ones that are close to, or 2 apart would be 6 and 8. And I need it to be a -2, so I want my 8 to be negative, because 6 times -8 is -48. 6 plus -8 is -2. So V plus 6 and V minus 8. So that is the process for what you are doing today. There are 2 places where students get stuck. First, they struggle to find their factors. So if you need to, you can get a multiplication table to just get yourself going. And then the second is with the signs. So on the next slide, there's a little hint here to help you out. If the top number is positive in your x, that means both the side numbers have to be the same sign. So if the top number is positive and the bottom number is positive, then the sides are going to be positive as well. If the top number is positive and the bottom number is negative, both sides will be negative. If the top number is negative, then we have to have one of each. So if the top number is negative and the bottom number is positive, your bigger number will be positive and the smaller number will be negative. And if the top number is negative and the bottom number is negative, then the bigger number has to be negative. So I would write that in there so you have it. Okay, just to help you out a little bit. So if the top number is positive, the signs are the same. If the bottom numbers, if the top number is negative, then there's one of each, and you have to figure out the bigger number. So go ahead and try the guided practice problems. If you have any questions, raise your hand and let us know, and we will come help you out with those. Once you've finished, have them checked, and we will give you your homework. Tomorrow we are actually going to, instead of doing more 7.5, we are going to move on to 7.6. So you have some extra time to practice all of them together. Again, go back to these problems. If you have any questions, let me know.